Hi, my name is Dawn Boyer and I do video reviews of coloring and art books, and you can find most of my video reviews on the Facebook page Artist Eye Reviews. They are placed on YouTube, so you can check out my channel there. We also have a sister page at Coloring Talk where you can find how-tos on drawing and coloring and other art and creative aspects. The book that I'm going to be reviewing today is Intricate Ink, Animals in Detail by Tim Jeffs. The one thing that drew my eye to his artwork was that he actually has such intricate drawings, and the colorists that have taken his drawings from the coloring book that have posted it on Facebook have done an absolutely phenomenal job. So I was really intrigued and just had to get the book. So the book is hardcover. It is nice and sturdy hardcover book. The paper is medium to thick weight, so it's got a nice good tooth to it. I think that those who are looking for pages that they could use wet medium on, gel pens, watercolor pencils, and things of that nature would enjoy the thickness of the paper in this book. The thing I like about his pictures are that they look like they've taken an awful amount of time, a lot of time to get all the details in. So this is Intricate Ink, Animals in Detail. This was printed, I believe, in Portland, Oregon, and they're also available through printing in the UK. This book was created or published in 2016. There's an introduction along with a beautiful picture of, I believe, a jaguar or a leopard. I'm not quite sure which one that is. What I like about this book is he has given an index of all the animals that are on the pages that he has drawn. I think this is a lemur, L-E-M-U-R, if I pronounced it correctly. But the fur and the lines are just beautifully drawn. Here's a crocodile. Now, some colorists do not like shading, but he does have a lot of shading in his drawings. But this actually provides a three-dimensional effect for the indentations of the animal's features. So I do like that. And he's taken a lot of time to put a lot of detail into each individual cell of the skin scales that are on the drawing. This is an iguana. I can imagine this took him hours and hours and hours to draw on. Every single scale has a little bit of a drawing feature in it. If it's not shading, it's spots or something to give it a really, truly three-dimensional effect. Now, all the backgrounds of his pictures are black, which means if you use some really brilliantly hued colors, they will pop out of the page because of the black background. And they do all have borders around them. Here's a bear. This must have been very tedious for the author and artist to draw. Look at all the fine individual hairs on here. But as a colorist, you could probably put a broad color across it and it would still look three-dimensional. Here's a python. Look at all the intricate lines that he has used to draw in here on this page. There's a lot of black, so I would probably say if you're going to be drawing or coloring in any of the pictures in this book, it would be good to use very brilliant hues so they would pop out against the black background. Notice that the backs of the pages are white, so if there is any wet or medium that bleed through, it should not affect the picture on the other side, but I would still advise putting paper in between just in case. This is an American bison. Look at the detail in the horns, just incredible, beautifully done. And this is one of the iguanas that are out on Facebook, is one of the colorist favorite animals out of this book to color. Some of the works that I've seen on Facebook are just absolutely, I would love to have the coloring piece itself. They're so beautiful. Here's another iguana. Look at all the amazing detail for each one of the scales on this animal, this reptile. And even though they might look abstract, by the time you finish coloring them in, they become more realistic. Here's another one. I think this is one of the top favorites on Facebook. Just amazing details in every aspect, and he does have the shading beautifully blended in. So when you're through coloring, it will definitely be 3D. Here's one of the jaguar that was up front. Here's another crocodile picture. Look at the details in the skin tabs and scales on the back of this crocodile. And the teeth. Those teeth look sharp and dull at the same time, and the shading is just very precise. And this is, I would say, some type of squid versus an octopus. I mean, it could be an octopus, but I'm not quite sure. And the variations of the very dark lines against the gray circles and scales on the animal make a beautiful contrast. Here's an elephant. Now, an elephant has various size of skin segments, I guess, and wrinkles on him. So he has gone into very exquisite detail on this, and I'll also shade it in where to give it the three-dimensional effect. And again, the pages are medium to thick weight, so they're very well done. This one, what a grand creature this is. Look at how beautifully drawn, so majestic. And all the individual wrinkles and skin cells on the trunk and the body. This must have taken 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 hours for the artist to draw. Here is a giraffe. And I'm not quite sure if he used pen and ink or if he used a pencil graphite to draw this one. But I can just see the yellows and oranges and golds being drawn in this picture to bring this giraffe to life. Here's an owl. Again, the amazing detail that he's put into the feather work. And although he didn't draw individual feathers, the brushwork, the strokes of the pen, and the shading that he has put on here really are indicative, so you can imagine how soft the feathers are on the owl. Here's another owl. Again, this may be a pencil drawing versus a pen and ink drawing. He's got some beautiful details, and look at how he's highlighted the eyes so it looks like some light shining off. So it really truly makes the eyeball pop out as a three-dimensional curved feature. Here's a hippo. He looks like he's hungry or ready to yell at somebody. Again, it looks like it might be a pencil drawing, and the details in the drawing itself are just amazing. You can see the hairs from the hippo's, I don't know, what do you call that? The nose, the upper lip, then the spots inside, and then all the individually drawn skin cells there in the picture. Beautiful. I think this is a sperm whale. What's incredible is that even though it looks like he's just floating in a vacuum, the lighting on top are indicative of the sun shining through the surface of the ocean and reflecting off the top of the back of the whale. And he's brought that theme back down into the forefins, and really I can see some colorists going back into the black and putting in some deep midnight blues, and then using some of the blues to reflect off the whale's back. Here's another iguana picture. This must be a animal totem for Tim Jeffs, because he just seems to really truly love to do the iguanas, and I could just imagine him having several iguana or bearded dragons in his home and as pets. The eye here is a little bit flatter. There's a little bit of a highlight, but it's not the indicative of a curve. So this may have been one of his earlier works, but the detail is still incredible. A lot of the shading in there that gives it a three-dimensional look. Here's another iguana. Looks like he's just woke up from a nap. He's laying down, and he has the spikes coming up. So that would be sort of challenging for some colorists to see if they can make the spikes look more three-dimensional with perhaps a gradated two-color application. Beautiful details, very, very three-dimensional quality of how he's placed the lines in there to make it look like a three-dimensional picture. His pictures are definitely not flat or two-dimensional, although they are drawn in that perspective. Here is I think this is a jaguar. I'm not quite absolutely sure. I'd have to look back at the index. Look how he has indicated or put in the individual whiskers of the animal, and then very lightly shaded in some of the contouring. You can see the muscle of the forearm or the shoulder of the animal here, and then it's darker under its belly. This is, I believe, another pencil drawing. He's used cross-hatching on the top to indicate the top of the bridge of the nose. Most artists would just sort of make the nose flat and flat black, but he has actually included the shading to include highlights. And again, the incredible individual whiskers here and the eyebrows of the animal. Having trouble turning the page here. Now this is a Easter Island monitor. These are the giganimous lizards that are on the island that are Komodo dragons that can be very, very voracious. They are meat eaters, and they can attack a human in a heartbeat. Are you enjoying this book too, Bibsy? And here's a lemur. I can just feel how soft that tail is on that animal with the brush strokes that he has used. I believe this may be a pencil drawing also. And here's a lion. Now this is more stylized than a little more on the balance of realism. He has used strokes here to indicate the lion's mane, and the lion's mane up here is extremely neat and in order. So this is one of the cleanest lions I've ever seen. But the animal has been drawn with some realism. It's got the whiskers and the nose and the mouth and the teeth. So I'm wondering if indeed this lion was an older lion and is missing some teeth. Here is a dragonfish, I believe is what they call it. All the individual fins have been drawn very beautifully. I can imagine this would be a very big challenge for an advanced colorist to make sure that they get all the individual aspects. Here's the body right through here, and more body peeking through the fins on the forward side, and then the fins on the back side, and here's some more of its fins. So I would say this is probably going to be one of the more challenging pictures other than the iguanas in this book. Here's a parrot. I can just imagine all the various colors that hobby colorists could use to fill in the feathers for this bird. It's looked like it's hunching its shoulder up a little bit for the top of its wing here. Beautiful details with the speckling and the eye and the nice three-dimensionality light reflection. And the beak does have a three-dimensional quality. I can see maybe going into the background here, and even though it's black, adding some darker and lighter greens in sort of a blend to sort of bring out that, and then the bright, brilliant feather colors for the parrot. And here's another picture. This is more of a pencil drawing, I believe, and everything is blended together beautifully so that you really can't see individual feathers, but the brush strokes themselves actually indicate there are feathers or what looks like fur almost on the bird. And then the wing feathers here are individually drawn. So I can imagine too here some brilliant colors being used on this picture, and the black background just making those colors pop out of the page. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is a lobster or a crayfish. Could be either one. And this could actually be something that a beginner colorist could use, because if most lobsters are actually a greenish color when they're in the ocean, if I remember correctly, and they don't turn red until after they've been cooked and been boiled. So you could color this either way. It could be a before or after boiling, and use various reds, magentas, and browns and golds to highlight the shell of the lobster. Or you could use various greens in multiple hues to color him as he would come out of the ocean. Now this is it's an electric eel, but I think there's a particular name for it. It might be, I can't remember exactly what it is, but this has definitely a challenge. Moray eel is what it is. So it's a challenge because the colors may be all pretty much the same throughout, or you could just blend some rainbow shifting and blending of colors against each other in the body of the eel. Here's another American bison. You can see that the way the artist drew the picture is the light source was from over here and was going in this direction, and he did a superb job of highlighting where the light was hitting it direct and then indirectly, and then the hidden shadows where the light wasn't able to reach. And then the bison is probably getting a little old, so there's a little bit of gray or some sun-bleached hair on the back of his body. And the horns themselves, I can see the texture of the horn with the brush strokes and the pen strokes or the pencil strokes that he used here. This, I believe, is a, oh gosh, Nautilus maybe? You know, you would think that I would know or be able to identify. Yeah, Nautilus. And what I really love is the beautiful tentacles coming down here where they've crossed over each other and in and out, and really made this animal look realistic. The shading here, beautifully done. The lighting is coming from this direction, and you can see where the light is disappearing or not reaching. It's blending into the black background. This is a cat. I think it's one of the specially named ocelot. I actually know or have seen stories of some ocelots that are wild out in the wild and have been found as a kitten and raised as a real cat in somebody's home as a pet, and they didn't even realize that it was actually a wild animal. But you can see how the artist has shaded. I can see the muscles and the muscle tone in this drawing, and I have a feeling that this animal is very strong from the way he has indicated the muscles. Now here's an octopus. Can you imagine how much fun it will be to draw all these individual suckers on the bottom of its tentacles and then put special colors in on the little dots on his body? And then his eyeballs, Tim Jeffs has brought in the three-dimensionality with the highlight, making it look like a round eyeball socket. And then the muscles where the brain is in the octopus's head. Here's another octopus. Again, I can almost feel the texture of the skin with the way he's drawn the individual pieces and parts. The suckers, boy, that was a lot of detail, and all the speckles throughout the body, and then the marbleizing of the headpiece. This probably took him 4 to 5 hours easily to draw out in ink or to pencil. Here's a polar bear. Now, I'm not sure what color you would color a polar bear because they're normally white. But if you take into mind the various colors of the spectrum that light reaches in the Arctic, where the polar bears hang out, there might be some use of some very pale blues, very pale grays with blue tints that would be able to color the polar bear very well. Or you can just use your imagination and make him purple. Who cares? It's your book. It's your coloring pens. You could do whatever you want. Here's a ram. And again, the detail for the hair and the fur around the body is just beautifully done, well shaded. I get the impression that this ram horn could eventually grow around into a spiral. And the ear is very well done. Very nicely done highlight on the eyeball. Here is, I believe, an eagle. I don't know if it's a bald eagle or a hawk, but the way I look at it as maybe an eagle or a hawk. I love the crest of feathers that go up shading his eye, and the shading of the feathers on the eyeball is indicative there. And then there's indications of various tones of feather work here. This is a little odd, but I'm assuming it's feather work there on the side. Here's a rhinoceros. Very well done. It's just incredible how he's put the wrinkles in there and made them so realistic. The huge nose, the horn, I could see, the horn is actually compacted hair. I don't know if a lot of people know that or not, but it does look like a solid horn versus fur. And then the rhinoceros skin and the textures and the shading are here. So I don't think I'd want this guy running at me out in the middle of the plains in Africa, because he looks like he could really do some damage. Now here's another lobster. This one is just beautifully done. I love all the various colorations and the textures and the designs that Tim Jeffs has put into the drawing. I don't know if this is a realistic lobster or if it is based on something that is really out there, but it sure does seem to me to be a possibility. I'm loving all the various textured lines, and can you imagine how fun it would be to color this? Everybody loves seahorses, and a lot of coloring artists draw seahorses that are mostly just plain and generic, I would suppose, and they do the outlines and a couple of little lines in here. In this particular drawing, he has put some incredible time into the vastly intimate details and all the little cracks and crevices and the fins and the eyeballs themselves. So it's just an incredible piece of work, and I can imagine just how long it took him to do this picture. And I can see all kinds of bright hues against the black background, being very, very beautiful. Here is a sea tortoise turtle. I'm not quite sure which one this is. He has done a beautiful job of shaping the head. I can see, almost feel just how hard the scales are on top of the head. I can see coloring in the individual, I'm not quite sure what these areas are called on the tortoise's shells, but I can just imagine the beautiful golden browns and yellows that I could fill in there. Or if I really wanted to get imaginative, use blues and greens and other sea colors. And I almost feel like I can shake this turtle's fin as a handshake, because it does feel like it's a very solid part of the animal here. Here's our lemur. They're slow and slothful, and Just one of the most lovable animals that are out there on the planet. They love to hug humans, and they're very, very slow when they move along. And one of the things that they're known for too are their enormous claws. These are realistic claws for this animal. They are sometimes that long in proportion to their body because they do a lot of tree climbing. And the eyes, oh my gosh, those eyes, aren't they just as sweet as they can be? It makes you want to love this little animal so much. There's another cat picture. This one has some amazing strokes and qualities in the drawing that makes the fur look like it would be so soft. I want to reach out and just pet the animal because this fur is so beautiful. Here's another lobster. This one is a little bit more simplistic while complicated at the same time. There's a lot of circles in the design, and here's some beautiful spiked repetitive patterns for the antenna, or I guess those are antenna. I don't know if they're his legs or antenna. And then they get a little bit simpler coming back over here, and so this would probably be a good picture for an intermediate drawing colorist to challenge themselves with. Here's another squid. Love the fluidity. I can just feel this animal just shooting through the ocean with their fins and being very graceful in doing it. I think this is a tapir, T-A-P-I-R, and they have some unusual noses and shapes. It's sort of like a pig with an anteater's head, but the fur is well done. I want to reach out and pet him because the fur was so well done. And this is probably my favorite animal in the whole wide world other than the imaginary creature, which is a dragon. This is a tiger, and he's used pencils to create the fur and the strokes and the patterns, and the individual whiskers of the tiger really makes the face look more realistic. And here's a wolf. I know a lot of people love wolves, and the way he's done the fur right here, again, I just want to reach out and stroke the animal because it does look so realistic. And here's a zebra. Now, I'm not sure what colors you would color a zebra since they are black and white already, but it would definitely lend to some wonderful creativity. Who cares if the zebra that you paint or color in this book is purple? Who cares if it's pink? Who cares if it's green or aqua blue? It's your book, it's your picture, and you can color this zebra whatever color you want. And in the back, there is a little note that you can go to this particular press to see the full selection of their books. And again, another option of a leopard in the back. And then that's the end of the book. So again, this is a coloring book review for Intricate Ink Animals in Details. It's a coloring book by Tim Jeffs. And I am going to keep the book not to color in, but because I absolutely love the book and the black and white pictures in them, I'm going to keep it as an art book. And again, this is Dawn Boyer with Artist Eye Reviews, art and coloring books and products that are reviewed on Facebook, and do visit our sister page for how-to videos at Coloring Talk.